50% of couples are not having any sex in a week on an average. Well, not married, this is not for you. But if you are about to get married, probably you can glean some points from this. Yes, we don't get to hear many things on sexuality or anything related to sexual matters. Of course, some churches in their sermons or Bible studies they focus a bit on being away from pornography or fornication, adultery, involving in sexual immorality. Uh, while these are extremely important, it's also important in another dimension to realize the importance of sexual intimacy in marriage. Churches or those who solemnize the weddings, they consider wife and husband under one roof in a house. They eventually make love and they live happily ever after. That's the common notion. But in reality, it doesn't happen in that way. Do you say Bible is silent about sexual intimacy in the context of marriage? Answer is absolutely no. In this video, as I'm talking, couple is always referring to God ordained marriage, any marriage in which a husband and a wife are there. That's it. I mean, couple is only these two people. Alright, if you see the causes of not having sexual intimacy, there are plenty. It could be age related or health issues or even life events that happen or relationship issues. But more importantly, what I realized, the increased time spent in working or studying or responsibilities, managing various roles and responsibilities and tasks beyond our level. This is one area many people lose this benefit or the gift of having sexual intimacy in the marriage. Are there benefits of having sexual activity, intercourse very frequently? Absolutely yes. Of course, very frequently. I'll come to that part a bit later. But engage in sexual activity improves one's health physically and mentally and thus spiritually also, I would say. Physically in which way? Yes, it does influence your physical activity. Number of heart attacks may be less, your fitness or your metabolism, everything will be boosted up, including your immune system. Yes, it is true. IgA antibodies are increasing in people who engage in sexual activity, and also their mood in general, their mood and low depression rates, and all it is attributed due to increased endorphins that eventually cause more fulfillment, happiness in the marriage. Yes, their closeness towards the partner will be improved and even sense of satisfaction. There are some studies that say decreased breast cancer and prostate cancer in men and women, those who engage in sexual activity frequently. Now coming to the number part, how many times a couple should engage in sexual activity in a week or a month? Should it be once a month or once a week or 7 times a week? Oh, that totally depends upon what stage of marriage you are, and as long as it is not becoming an addiction, there is no harm in engaging as many number of times as possible. But on an average, twice or once a week is pretty good to contemplate upon. That's what the majority of the studies come up with. But again, here I'm not trying to prescribe the number of sexual intercourses per week. But in general, having more number of sexual intercourses, these activities in a week, eventually bring husband and wife a bit closer, less number of fights, more respect and submission to each other. By the way, this whole sexual intimacy is to promote the vulnerability, being fully known by other person and also fully knowing. These things go together very well in the context of sexual intimacy, and that's very, very important in any kind of marriage. Even it's not healthy to compare with the other person's sex life, because it depends totally upon individual couples rather than one size fits all. And we do not have to compare. It's always about quality over the quantity. And eventually, as quantity is more, you can build the quality also. That's also there in the context of sexual activity in the marriage. How to increase this? This modern life doesn't allow you to have you more engagement in the sexual activity. But here comes the importance of planning. To be planned. If you don't have planned sex, you are much more likely to have no sex at all. If you don't have planned sex, you are much more likely to have no sex at all. So it's important to plan. Check whether both of you are satisfied and fulfilled. Sometimes you may need to take the counseling, consulting an elderly, godly couple in this regard, so that they will give you some valuable suggestions. Looking back in our lives as well, thank God for those people who have contributed a lot. In fact, we received uh, this book called Act of Marriage by Tim LaHaye as a wedding gift presentation. I really thank God for the mentor family who have gifted that book to us, and also me as we were living our life, and people who, especially mentors, who asked how you are doing in your intimacy. We are really grateful for those mentors. You may ask this question: what if one person has more sexual drive than the other? What if one person has more sexual drive than the others? Less drive, more drive, you cannot establish this unless you both sit together and understand uh, which is more really, which is less. But if a person feels he is deprived, his self-esteem or even ego of that person, they are all affected. Even it amplifies own insecurities. That is another important thing we need to understand. So it's always like a garden. If you are not cultivating, taking efforts, removing all the stones, thorns from your own field and do some plowing or planting, watering, using fertilizers, if you are not interested in pruning and taking care of the garden, you will end up always in praising the flowers of neighbor's garden, which we do not want here. So always look at this: are you lazy? Are you not taking enough efforts to satisfy your life partner? This satisfaction or sexual fulfillment is a gift from the Lord, and you got to work towards it, both of you together. Being honest and open about it, transparent in discussing all the aspects of it is very important. And as I mentioned before, planning is the most important thing. This is not something that happens automatically. In your sleep, it doesn't just happen like that. You have to plan ahead, be presentable, use all kinds of ambience, or dress up well, use all the possible perfumes, which are of course not so pungent, but promoting the attraction as well as intimacy. Yes, if you ask Bible does have a word to remind us. Listen carefully. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 3 onwards. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. But then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self control. And I would say God has created this beautiful, pleasurable gift called sexual intimacy in the context of marriage. How do you know that? Look at Adam and Eve. They were naked, definitely engaged in sexual activity even before the fall. So, what does God want out of your marriage? Beautiful intimacy between both of you as husband and wife, and thus you develop that mutual respect and always interested in the fulfillment of your partner. And while you show that interest, you find your own satisfaction. And ultimately, love is the overarching rule over this sexual intimacy with marriage. So, God bless you and enjoy sex.